Hey folks, Ben from eXplorminate here, and welcome to episode 11 of this Let's Play series of Shadow Empire. We're playing on a lava planet, and things really are hotting up. So, in the north, I decided, probably somewhat ill-advisedly, to take on an offer by some fifth columnists in the Iseron commune, and they said they were going to help me if I would take over their territory. I did this. The fifth columnists arrived. They had no support from my units at all, and I'm quickly trying to save the militia units that I got. These aren't actually bad militia units either. As far as militia units go, they're okay. So I want to save those guys, and I want to try to take this as quickly as possible. There is a chance that the Morbian commune, who are, if you remember, a major faction, a major regime, and although they're a Republican realpolitikers, their relation with us is kind of cold. They're not keen on us. So this would be a good opportunity for them to also invade into this minor regime and take territory. And we don't want this major regime to get any territory that we can take. The more zones we have and the less that they have, the better. The happier that I will be. Another thing that I noticed upon booting this game up again this afternoon is that our Economic Council have been working overtime, and they've dug up lots and lots of potential mineral, metal and radioactive sources. So we've got loads and loads and loads of metals here. Now, if you look at our stockpiles, we've got lots of metals and we're gaining loads every single turn. Don't worry, they will get used. However, one thing that we don't have a huge amount of at the moment is credits. And if we just go through to the treasury cash flow overview, I was showing the report screen off in the last episode, but we can have another look at it today, because I think it's worthy of more examination. In the treasury cash flow overflow, not only does it tell you what you're taxing each of your zones, there's also public investment and emergency food. So public investment is, you can set this in each of your zones, in each of the cities of your zones, using your governor of the zone, and you can push some money into each one of those zones every turn, and this will give the public sector, the private sector. No, that's right. The private sector, some money to invest in some of their into stuff that they can build. This has been working. So I've actually been putting 51 into Jura and 50 into Richters Know, and we were doing this earlier on in Richters Know, and you can see that in Richters Know they've actually got. We just filter by the private sector. They've built loads of stuff. They've got a dune farm, a dome farm 3, scavenging. They've got a transport hub, which I think they had these at the start. They've now built a private lab, which gives us some. This actually gives us some resource bonus points. Which one is this for? I think that's for. That's going to be for bureaucratic points. They built a library. We got these zoos, and I think I might have added the arena too. But then there's a town customs, which gives them the security bonus, sewers, which gives a public health bonus, and they've just completed schools, which I think is increases quality of life in some way. Education. There we go. So. Yeah, that's just to show you the effect that, if you pump some money into there, it really helps them out. It also helps that Richters Know has been relatively war free as well. I'm getting a bit sidetracked. What I wanted to look at was here's the total in and out cash flow. So you can see that we've got 183 credits of revenue and 251 credits of expenses. Now, it doesn't tell you here any overflow from. Oh, there we do. So forced sales income. This is water that we've sold because we can't store it anymore, and every turn the game very conveniently sells anything that you can't store, so it doesn't go to waste. If it can be sold, it will be sold. We sold 903 water and we got 91 credits of income, which is helpful. I think that's included in this. So we're running at a bit of a deficit at the moment. It's not a huge deficit, but eventually that will add up, and we need to start making money. This is where the metal comes in. So we've got we can actually trade with the traders. Now, this is the buy screen and this is the sell screen. The reason why I'm pointing out the obvious here is because it's partly for my own benefit, because Sometimes I think I'm buying and then I end up selling. So I'm basically, just make sure you get this right. Don't be Ben. Don't get it wrong. So what we want to do is we want to go to sell, and we've got metal to sell. Now, the metal price isn't great at the moment, but it's something, right? And we can actually sell 600 of these metals. Now we're making 300 a turn, and there's no way that we're going to use all these metals right now. I haven't got the manpower to be able to really fully utilize that amount of metal, and I think that selling a couple of turns worth essentially for some credits, we're only going to get 403 credits, but that's a decent amount, and that's enough for me. That just gives us a little bit more of money to as a float, because you never know when a decision might come up where you get offered something, either a bonus or you get the opportunity to stave off a big penalty by paying some money. So it can be very helpful to do that. Okay, so yeah, we were looking at the prospecting, and our Economic Council have done a really good job. Now, I think that this planet is obviously going to be very mineral rich. We can look at this in our planet statistics overview. It's in the help menu in the reports section. This gives you a planetary statistics overview, and it just reminds you of any respiratory hazards, biohazards. The name of your planet is here. You know, any whether it's toxic to human plants or not, how much rain there is, all this kind of stuff, right? But we can go through each of the planet creation screens here that were created when we actually made our planet, so you can remind yourself of what was going on there. But in here somewhere, let me just have a look. Okay, maybe it wasn't. I might have been looking in a different thing. My apologies, guys. Yeah, but there is somewhere that tells you. That will be it. It will be in the zones. I think it tells you where. Or is it organization under Economic Council? There we go. This is what I'm looking for. Here's where the prospecting is. So it tells you the hexes where you discover things each turn, right? So with 11 BP assigned to prospecting, we managed to improve prospecting levels with 1,584 points. One resource hex was discovered rare metal deposits in Richters Know 19.8, and then it tells you what the bonus that was rolled. So there was a skill bonus that was added to the dice roll that was made when they found that, and the director relation bonus was 35%. So this just goes to reinforce how important it is to keep your leaders happy. Okay, sorry, that took a little bit of a round of houses there while I was trying to find that, but just goes to show you that there is information that is buried in here. And all of these different organizational overviews will have something quite useful in there, and we'll come across them as we play. Okay, I think it was time to roll the turn on, if I remember right. Yeah, let's do that. There's another screen that's also quite handy. If you once the turn's rolled, I'm going to hit the F2 key, and then we can see the statistics. There's a bunch of graphs in there that can be quite useful. Early on in the game, they're less important. Okay, so we lost 300 infantry, so there was some things happened there. I'm just going to go through these. So we gained efficiency goals. That's a regime feat. I'm not sure which one that is. I'll have to look. And some more operationalization has happened. Those will happen now. We've got the staff council that will happen every few turns. I'm not going to read them all out because they will happen literally every turn, and there's hundreds of them. And they are all different and useful. Non-aggression pack, so this is a strategy we develop. Okay, first things first, let's just have a quick look at the stats screen. Then I'll go and have a look at the history menu to see where we had that fight. So in this screen, there is a breakdown of all any numerical value, numerical information that there is in the game. So if we start off looking at the troop statistics, if we just click on all, this is just a breakdown. Well, this just shows you how many troops you've got over time. So the turns are at the bottom and the number of troops is up on the left. So we've actually got, we've steadily been raising the amount of troops. And we've got somewhere around 21,000 men roughly at the moment. Now, if we wanted to find out how many buggies we had, how many of these crossbillies, you can just click on here. And there's different things, GIs, GI2s. We've got these GR jetpacks, and so on. So you can really go through here and just find all the, if you want to figure out which of your troops are doing well, which are dying, that kind of thing. You can click on casualties inflicted, so you can actually see how many men you've actually killed, how many casualties you sustained, all sorts of stuff. In the regime statistics, you've got zone populace, so you can tell how many population you've got in your zones. Now this can get quite busy later on, and you can turn the numbers off if that's the case. Sometimes it's easier to actually see what's going on if you turn the numbers off. You've got the average happiness of the zones. That is really important to keep an eye on. You'll see here that Jura, that's when we took it over, and it started very low, and it started dropping at first, and then I think we brutally suppressed some revolution, and it started rising ever since, presumably because we wiped out all the dissenters. There's zone hunger. Again, there was a spike in Jura there. Now we've got the number of troops, and this breaks down your troops by how veteran they are, and whether they're regular troops or whether they're militia. Again, this one can get quite busy, so you might want to turn off the numbers sometimes when you're looking to see it, and so on. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of these. You've got military stats, manpower, which is to do with your workers, how many workers, how many population, how many workers, and how many soldiers you've got. There's free folk, colonists, all this kind of thing, and these will juggle around as population become workers, as population turn into soldiers, free folk turn into population sometimes turn back into free folk, and so on. And yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. So you've got your inventories for your various, you can see how you're spending your various resources, all this kind of stuff. So while we're on the topic of manpower, just quickly, there might be an interesting distinction to be made. We were talking about this public and private sector economy. Now, your workers are parts of the population that you've turned into workers that you pay from your public finances. So they come out of your cash flow, your credit flow, and they are paid by you, and they work in your public assets. So that is the assets that you've created, that I've created, or you've created. So for example, in Richters Know, we'll go to our assets. We've built a high command, industry, metal mine, agridome, all these ones that are in this silver color, and that's where your workers, these require workers, and you can see in the top left hand corner of each of these cards how many workers are required to work in each of them. If you have a shortage of workers, these aren't going to work. you might find that your industry will be pumping out less industrial points each turn, and you'll have to find out why. Here it will tell you if this number is in red, then say for example the energy is in red, it's because it's not getting enough energy. So so now if we look at the population is a general thing, but they're not under your direct commands, as it says in the tooltip. They actually represent people who are living there in the city, but they also work in the private sector too. So you don't have to worry about recruiting those guys in the private sector. So that's why both the workers and the population have their own separate happiness and loyalty scores, and you have to keep an eye on those. And there are different stratagems, and there are different decision trees that kind of affect each one individually. So yeah, there's some depth in this particular sort of system with the way population and workers work too. Okay, Water Void wants to erect a statue. Let's just have a look at our regime feats here. There have been so many militia members and soldiers that died for us over the years. There is a community effort close to my family compound. It involves the construction of a statue to honour the sacrifice of the unknown soldier. I'd like to support this effort with my own humble means and leadership. Okay, so Clear Water Void, who's the commander of our 2nd Machine Gun Infantry Brigade, wants to build a monument to her fallen comrades, which I think is really sweet. Now, I would generally support such a thing. The reason being is because I think that doing so is going to give us a decent bonus. Gaining in government and heart isn't going to affect us too badly, right? We could reproach this leader, but this is one of my military commanders. Now this will give us a small bonus, in this sadistic faction here. But I can't remember which one this is. The Reformist Army, that's right. They want me to reproach this person, but I don't want to reproach this person at all. I think that's a bad idea, so I'm going to allow this one. Improving mind might be helpful, but you know, I think I'd like the points in government and heart. We're still lacking an advisor. I might make this person an advisor just temporarily. Capacity 1. Sorry, not capacity. It's capability class. Capability class 1. That's not good. Both of these people aren't very good. I might just put this person in, and it will at least raise his loyalty with me. Okay, the Economic Council. Now we need to start looking at this. Discovery priority versus research priority. Let's go and have a look, see how far we've got down the tech tree. Now, if you remember, I didn't want to discover too many of these until I'd found the ones that I really wanted. So we've yet to discover university and power plant. Power plant's not so important on this planet, I think, especially since we've got solar energy. Oh yeah, we're researching solar energy now. But I'd like to get university, so I'm going to keep. I might just adjust this slightly. I might adjust it up a little bit because I would like solar power. Prospecting chain. I'm going to leave. I might drop prospecting slightly and just raise the economic policy just up a little bit now. We have done plenty of prospecting, although it does pay to keep it going.
Roger that.
And there's a road doctor in Jura. Close this lab by force. Difficulty 39. That will raise enforcement. That will be. That's not going to affect commerce. Yeah, let's do that. Success. Okay, no problemo. So if you fail those, the penalties can be quite severe. Right. So the first light infantry were currently trying to fight off this invasion by Pelora. Let's see what we can do about pushing those guys back further. Okay, we've got another unit here. It's probably the same. I'm gonna try to surround these. No, I don't like these odds. I'm gonna wait till next turn. They will probably attack me to try and get out of this encirclement and die. I think that's my prediction there. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Here, maybe we'll move up here. And we've still got these couple of militia units. Now Jura's doing better. It's above par. I think we could probably send one of these militia units up now to try to support this attack up here. I mean, militia still aren't they're not much good, but they're better than nothing. In the north here, we are fighting against, these are raiders, I think. Yeah, militia raiders. They've got some bikers and buggies. We've got RPGs though, which is good. I think the RPGs might be enough to take down those buggies. I do. Ah, that's right. I remember we attacked these last turn and didn't do too much damage, did we? Minus supply ammo fuel modifier there. They're not very well entrenched. I don't want them to entrench either. I don't think we can get around them further. I think I'm going to try to attack them before we run out of supply. Let's see if we can damage them and push them back. No, that wasn't a very successful attack at all. This is why we don't use militia for military operations. These guys will at least keep those happy at the in the north, and we can come back once we've dealt with this particular little problem. Turn our attention to again, we've got the Pelora, and there's also the Pessallaria, and both of these are using these heavy walker, these light walker units. These Sentinels are actually light walkers, I believe. There are at least two different types that I've seen in the game so far. So let's move. I might actually move these jetpack infantry up. I think the jetpack infantry with these tanks are going to make short work. Yeah, look, 68. They're going to just melt through this armor. Yeah, destroyed. Okay, so we It said they retreated, but I think we completely destroyed them there. Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, let's try and get some of these walkers down. Saying we were low on fuel, but we still managed to destroy one of them and the other one retreated. There we go. So, okay, we're not far off defeating this little insurgency. And on the east, similar situation, except these mutants are they're really not all that. I think let's try to push these guys back as quickly as possible and liberate the Red Bar brothel. Okay. So what have we got? We've got 700 there, 1800 there, 600 there. Let's just defeat in detail these guys. Now I'll just attack with this one militia unit. That should be enough. There we go.
Mission success.
Yeah, that was. You'll just see quite how strong these units are. I mean, you'll just see how weak these mutants are. They're really not. They're no good. Again, we should just be able to attack with one of these militia units here. Oh, these are actually regulars. Look, this is the 1st Machine Gun Infantry Battalion. Okay. We haven't got any recon on this particular. We might get some if we move in. Ah, there we go. Okay. I'm just gonna attack with my Machine Gun Infantry Battalion. Yeah, our recon was bad, look, so there was actually more of them than we thought, but we made mincemeat out of them as expected. And I don't like those odds. Yeah, there's a lot more of the mutants there, so let's just leave those for the time being. I'll just bring some backup in. Oops, that's not what we want to do. We don't want to. Who's this? Oh, it's Loz's area. Okay, we want to. Oh, excuse me. I hate Windows. And yeah, let's just move those guys up. And I want to send some more spies into this major regime. We haven't got any spies up there right now. Just see who else we've got around. Yeah, I don't think there are any other major regimes around us at the moment. Oh, mind you, the difficulty is 85 and 100. No, I'm not going to risk that. I'm not going to risk that yet. We need more recon. We need to get more recon on along their border so that we can actually see more of them. Okay, let's go to the next turn. Well, mind you, it might be worth, but actually we have actually got some resources to build stuff. However, we are already building a recycling unit. Now, oh, this is something else that I actually wanted to point out before we roll the turn on. There are archaeological sites in this game, and they can be found when you're exploring the lands and from prospecting. And this is what they look like here. And they always arrive. They always seem to be in ruins, and you can see there's different levels, and they range from common to very rare, I think. And each one gives you a percentage chance of finding technology. On every 500 scavenge points scavenged, you'll find one artifact. That was right. And there are some of the artifacts give you. I think the artifacts give you a special kind of stratagem card, and they can be quite useful. So you know, you're digging up ancient technology essentially, and so I'd like to be able to get a road up here into these ruins here. Yeah, it's just Richters Know. This is just part of the Richters Know zone. The Zonia domes, so that would be an interesting thing to get going, because, well, ancient tech's going to be good. I mean, we've already had some good success using this Galactic Republic weaponry that we found, particularly the tanks. The tanks have been exceptionally useful. Okay, let's go on to the next turn. And again, we killed 200 infantry. Actually, that's one thing I forgot to do. I forgot to actually see where it was that we were being attacked from. But it doesn't really matter a huge amount. Okay, we gain friendship. Now this is the regime feat I was really wanting, because it gives us a I think it's a 40% bonus to your leader loyalty. And we've researched padded envirosuit, so that's going to increase at the defense of our troopers. It will make them marginally more effective against other poor quality rifles. We've got bikers. So bikers are a motorcycle unit that we've just created, and we found 124 credits and 2 stratagems. Okay, firstly, let's go to the dashboard and just have a look at the urgent issues. We've got some units out of supply. These 9 units out of supply are most likely going to be these guys up here. At least, well, there's 4 of them at least. Yeah, these guys are running very, very low on supply. Firstly, we can try and open up this supply line here. Let's just see if we are actually... No, we're not getting any supply up here at all. So this is a problem. We're not going to do any damage to these guys while we've got no ammo. So we need to move back to a position where we can actually start... where we can actually get some ammunition and food and all those things that keep soldiers fighting. Okay, so where are we next? Just have a look. We are losing food here. So 249 of our food was sent to units. 45 was consumed by colonists and recruits. I'm trying to remember where this will be. Which part of the... might be in zones. No. Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, this might be it. This tells you where, yeah, how much population, how much food is consumed. So you'll see that the private sector also produces food, but the population consume that. So the food that we're actually producing goes generally to the men and women working in the public sector, if that makes sense. So that will be to our colonists, recruits, soldiers. But we can also provide food to on an emergency basis to our cities, and we do that by talking to... Let's just go to Richters Know. There we go. So we click on the minor city, that's right, and then we just call Guy Neon Void, and go to zone orders. And here, this is where we can set both the public budget and whether we want to allow emergency food or not. Also here, we can choose to incorporate the zone or leave it unincorporated after it's been colonized. Now you'll see that Jura at the moment, I believe I left this costs political points, by the way, so you don't want to do this without really needing to. So you'll see that Jura is actually an unincorporated zone at the moment. And the unincorporated zone means that you've not fully integrated them into your cultural community, cultural and sort of bureaucratic community, I guess. So you're unable to tax them. They're largely left to their own devices with regards to taxation, food, that kind of thing. But if you want to start taxing them to make money, you do need to incorporate them eventually. Now, it's not a good idea to do it until the workers and the population themselves are happier. Okay. Another thing I noticed about Jura, though, is that I've not actually built any public assets here, and that might be a good thing to do. Now, we've not had them going for very long, but 3 rounds of 500 metal and 80. This would give us 50 more industrial points a turn. Now, that will be useful later on. We could also build a barracks to increase security, 2 rounds of 100 industrial points. That might be really useful. We could also build a rail station. I mean, eventually we want to get rail going from Richters Know up to Jura, and rail is good to connect your cities, and it provides a huge bonus. A huge logistics points increase over road. And the way that the strategic HQ works is the strategic HQ acts like a supply dump that sends out everything from fuel, food, extra recruits, everything that can be that the other cities and your operational HQs need in order to operate flow from your strategic HQ. You can have more than one strategic HQ. At the moment, we've only got one, which is the first SHQ, and the amount of SHQs that you have are limited by the amount of cities that you have. So it helps. Let's say that we took a city over here, and we didn't have much in the way of logistics, supply routes with roads, rail, and whatnot. Or it might be that we've taken a town that's in the middle of a bunch of mountains, and it's expensive for us to get roads or rail over those mountains because it's really expensive in industrial points. In that case, then it becomes quite severe, because your SHQ will not be supplying any deficiencies that town can't provide for itself. So often in that case, especially if you've got a very large map, let's say that our empire spanned this entire map here, and we might have like 6 or 8 zones all in this sort of area. In that case, you might actually want to create another strategic HQ, and then you have to manually assign all of the cities to that strategic HQ. So it starts operating like a separate conglomerate of nations, I guess. Like I said, each zone is supposed to represent a city-state in this game. It's a large city that kind of administrates all these little towns, all these free folk kind of towns are on the outside. These guys aren't under your regime necessarily, but it's kind of assumed that people are living, in the surrounding area as well. Each one of these hexes is the one length of it is 200 kilometers. So these are huge areas that we're talking about. But these cities are also very, very big. Okay, so I'm digressing a little bit. I'm just sort of kind of filling in on some of the flavour of the game. Okay, let's carry on with this operation. Now, these are low on supply. What are they missing? They're low on fuel. That's okay. We can still attack. 248 to 1. Okay. We'll push those guys back quite simply. No, that's a different territory, of course. I don't want to. It's not a good idea to attack if you've not got recon. There are some situations where I can see maybe it might be a good idea. For example, if you've got a very, very strong unit and you're fairly sure that the enemy in there is, that's hiding in that area is relatively weak, then it doesn't really matter. For example, if you've got some really powerful tanks and you're sending them in against these mutants, you don't need to worry too much about recon. But just be aware that sometimes you might get a nasty surprise, let's just say. Okay, on this side of the map, see, we haven't got any recon on this unit here, so we'll try to preserve some of the movement points. Yeah, let's move these into. I might. No, they don't seem to have any fortifications anyway. It's probably not worth bombarding them. I don't think the artillery will be able to damage them anyway. Let's see if we can just take out. Oh, let's just see if we can take them out with the tanks.
Let's go.
Really, you want to surround the units as much as possible, because it stops them from retreating like this. And you don't. Bearing in mind that it's taking 2 months every turn, you don't want to be just pushing these units around. It's much more efficient to surround them, encircle them, and get them to surrender. It's not always possible though, and sometimes I'm content just to push them back. However, these guys would be useful up here now for this war in the north. So I would like to kind of get this part of the battle done as quickly as possible. Okay, we do have an encirclement here, and I think that these guys will be out of supply. I don't remember if the walkers actually use supply or not. They probably do use ammo, I think. we can check this. We will be able to check this on our own walkers. Yeah, they don't. They don't seem to have any supply. They don't have any upkeep. Right. Let's just kill these off quick. I'm just going to attack with everybody.
Do it now.
There are four of them. Okay, they've surrendered. What did we lose? We lost 200 GIs. That's okay. That's not a big problem. Okay. With that in mind, I don't want to. I am going to try and just start encircling these, I think. So let's get that done there. We do need to get some supplies up this way. Where did we build? Did we build a truck station here? No, we don't have anything in Jura. We nationalise your private asset transport hub to attain this asset. Ah. Okay. It's telling us to nationalise the transport hub. I don't normally like doing that because of the hit that you take to your happiness. But there we go. Okay, so this will now allow us to to actually use the trucks from this particular asset. Now that we'll see the effects of that hopefully next turn. Let's just press P. Yeah, it has increased it, I think. Yeah, maybe. So we've nationalised that now. I wonder if we can actually build upon this. Yeah, we can upgrade it to a truck station Mark II. I don't know if I want to do that quite yet. And let's just see if there's anything we can build here. We can build a barracks now in Richters Know, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to get on that straight away. We are still building the. Oh no, we've finished the recycling unit now, which is great. So this will be bringing in metal and these rare metals and also some oil too, some fuel. Sorry. Okay, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to do here. Probably should start looking at replacement troops. Yes, we've got 2,200 infantry and 200 machine guns that we need to replace. So let's just replace those machine guns. So what happens here is this is the SHQ that we're using, and you pay for your troops and you pay the production cost for them, and then they go into a pool here, and the SHQ then sends them out using the logistics points that are available along your supply routes. So infantry, it's telling us that we're 2,200 infantry requested. So that's how many is being requested for reinforcement from the operational HQs. Militia don't need to be replaced in this way. Militia are actually replaced automatically by the cities themselves, by the city states themselves. So what was it, 2,200? So we want 22. There we go. There we go, and you can see now that we've got the number on the left shows how many we've actually got in storage, and this is how many is requested. So, okay, it's often worth putting extra ones in there. Also, if you're done with the formation, let's say that we don't feel that we need this brigade anymore, the first light infantry, we could scrap it, and if you go to unit admin, you could go to disband, and it would send all the troops back to the SHQ. Now those troops aren't wasted. This is one of the great things about this game, right? So if you do disband your units and they are returned to the SHQ, they retain their veterancy. I think I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So they retain their level of veterancy, and then you can use those troops that are in the SHQ to actually create other units. But when you raise a formation, let's say that we go to the independent infantry battalion here. We can't actually build that. Let's just click on Richters Know. Okay, so here, let's say we wanted to raise an independent battalion, just one infantry battalion of 1,000 men. You could actually specify the quality of the troops that you wanted. Now, this is determined mostly by the settings in your management screen. I haven't described that yet, so let me just show you that quick. More to the point, if you click here, this screen basically it tells you how many of these troops you're going to be able to raise, whether you've got the items. This is all the stuff that you need in order to be able to create it, right? So have you got the troops? Have you got the items necessary? Have you got the logistics points in order to deliver it to the square that you're, to the hex that you're actually selecting? For example, we could build them in Richters Know, but since we've got quite a lot of logistics points, we could very likely build them here as well. Look, yeah, we can. So, and you'll see that we've got the logistics points. It's saying it's going to cost 50 out of 451 logistics points in order to transport them immediately up to this point. So, I mean, we could probably raise them in Jura. So yeah, so you'll see that still we're at 100%, and if you hover your mouse over here, it will tell you what the actual problem is. And then here it goes through all the individual costs for everything, and just bearing, I think we talked about this, but the ammunition is also important. There's a political point cost, food, all sorts of stuff. And ignore the quality for a moment, I'll show you that in a moment, but you can actually then choose to use the troops that are in the SHQ. So if you were to disband some units, you could then decide which troops you want to raise them from. If you wanted a really strong unit, you could say, I only want veterans. And what will happen then is any troops that are in the SHQ, you can actually adjust how many you want from the SHQ. I mean, you could just say, okay, I want 50% veteran units as part of this battalion, and I want 50% from the SHQ, yeah, at this particular level. So you can actually immediately raise up formations full of elite units. Or if you just want some poor quality units just to plug a gap, you could just say, I want all the green units that we've got. So it's really, really powerful how you can build your formations, and we've not even got into that. I mean, this is a really complex part of the game. So if we go into the models here, this will be easier to look at when we've got more stuff going in the game, right? But let's just look at these two different GIs. The initial ones that we started with were slug throwers. They carry slug throwers, which is a very basic weapon, and an envirosuit. If you click on the icon here, it gives you the breakdown of what they are. This is an infantry. Its main armament is a slug thrower. It has been issued an envirosuit. Field testing is 82% complete. Let's look at that later, the field testing part. But and then it gives you all these statistics that we've seen before, right? And you now have we've iterated on that design and created GIs too. And these ones have got carbines. In every other respect, they're exactly the same, but it's increased their combat role. You see the combat figure here. It's increased, right? And it's also increased the cost, because it costs more industrial points in order to, and maybe metal, in order to create a better gun, right? Now here is the quality of the unit. So you can say, right, well, I want the GIs that are left, I want them designated as low, and I want the GI2s as my regular units. Now this only really matters if you set it in your formations that you're going to distinguish between these different quality of troops. We could say, all right, I want, let's say we've got another type of unit, like in one of my other games, I had some guys with combat armor and laser weapons, right? So I was like, oh, they sound like stormtroopers from Star Wars, so I called them stormtroopers, and I put those as high or elite. And what that means is, if you set one to elite, one to low, you can obsolete them here as well. So, I mean, honestly, we probably should obsolete these guys anyway. But I'm just going to keep them on low for now, because I guess there might be an occasion where I'm just so low in resources that I desperately need some quick troops. However, so if we now go back to our race formation, we go back to that battalion, and now we can specify the quality of the troops only. So look, you see that if we just exclude everything except low, all it will give us the option is 1000 GIs. That's the basic troop with the slug throwers, right? If we say we want anything, we're going to accept anything from low and average, we can then mix and match between GIs and GI2s. So you might have some very, very elite, expensive units with really high technology that takes a lot of, I don't know, something like rare earth metals and machinery or something, or high-tech gear, something that's really expensive, but you might want to mix a few of those into your formations. So you can actually say, okay, well, I want, in this case, if you pretend these GI2s are actually better than they are, you could say I want 500 of one and 500 of the other. That's going to be, it's going to be less of a cost than just fielding a whole regiment of, a whole battalion of one elite type, but you still get that bonus. There might be something in there that can particularly penetrate armor. So if you've got guys with lasers, or with an advanced weapon like that, you might want just to sprinkle a few of those in so they're a little bit more effective against hard units, that kind of stuff. And this is just the tip of the iceberg with this system. I mean, if you can imagine when you go into regiment size stuff or division, or even with your multi units, so you could have army sizes with huge amounts of troops, you can get really creative with the combination of this quality and the veterancy of the units that you're able to pick from once you started generating some veteran units from some of the battles that you've got. Okay, I'm gonna end this episode there, guys. Well, in the next turn we'll actually play a little bit. Some of the feedback I've got so far is that I think people have been enjoying this sort of in-depth look at some of the way that the game mechanics work. I know it might be a little bit slow for some people, but I think the other YouTubers are doing a really, really, really good job of showing the game as it developed, and watching them play and playing it well and having fun with it, right? And I think it's sometimes good to kind of to look deeply at some of the game mechanics. That's one of the things that we're really passionate about at eXplorminate, and it's one of the reasons why I started doing stuff with them, because they really, really like to look at games and kind of analyze them just to see where the genre's at, right? We're really passionate about 4X games in particular, but we like strategy games in general and these war games and stuff. And it's just this has been an absolute delight for me to look at. I mean, in the same way that I was delighted with Distant Worlds Universe when I first came across that game, because it was just so wonderfully complex but nice to play, and this has got a very similar vibe. There's so much to it. There's so much information that's buried in here, and yet it doesn't fall foul of that kind of. I think sometimes some games and some games developers they mistake complexity for depth, right? So they add loads and loads of stuff in, but it doesn't all necessarily really work, or it might not actually work to the betterment of the way that the game plays and how fun it is. And I'm no game designer, and I'm just a guy who likes talking about games, really. And I don't claim any particular knowledge or experience with this stuff, but we do like to look at these things, and we do like to to kind of get deep down and dirty and just to see what things work and what things don't. And this is only going to help the games industry in general. So I think that it's just been an absolute pleasure to look at this game, because I do think it's not perfect, but it's not bad. It's really not bad. This game does so many good things, so many things right. I mean, it's a 4X game. It's a 4X game that's built on the back of an existing military simulation that's absolutely brilliant. This logistics system is great. It's actually fun as well. I mean, who'd have thought that planning out logistics would be fun? Well, I don't know. I guess I'm talking to Matrix games fans here, so you guys love all that kind of stuff. But it's and then there's a grand strategy element to it, and the grand strategy element is as fun as anything else I've played in any of the other sort of big grand strategy games. Developers, names of which I will not mention. So yeah, I think that it's just it ticks so many boxes, and I think that this could be yet another Matrix Slytherin gateway drug into Gary Grigsby's War in the East. That's kind of one of the ways that I see this. I think that I used to work in circus, right, and we used to joke that no matter what you do in circus, you'll eventually end up doing clowning at some point. Every path in the circus leads to the deep, dark, murky grove of the clown. And I think it's the same with war games, right? Eventually, you play enough of these games. If you play enough 4X games, or you started out playing Master of Orion or something, at some point in your career, you will be led into those murky woods of war games, and you'll end up playing War in the East. Anyway, right, I'm going to sign off, guys. Take it easy. See you later. Bye bye.